Well, now let's head to Ghana, where hundreds of opposition protesters yesterday gathered in the capital, Accra, to denounce the lingering economic crisis, blaming it on the central bank and its governor's policies, the central bank governor's policies. The protest had been organized jointly by the NDC minority group in the parliament, the pressure group Arise Ghana, and various other advocacy groups. They waved placards decrying the government's management in Ghana, which is going through its worst economic troubles in years. Their primary demand is the resignation of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, and his deputies, who have been accused of mismanaging the central bank and leading it into financial turmoil and overseeing an economy where inflation has hit 40%.
If the whole country needs 1 billion from the IMF every year for 3 years to fix our problem, and Edison in 1 year can superintend the loss of 5 billion, who is our problem?
So this government, they know that they are losing power.
They will not come back.
They have nothing to lose. Hey, if the BOG destroys Ghana, they don't care. If Addison runs Ghana down, they don't care. But we, the people, must care, not join. If the NDC is a government in waiting, the NDC must be interested in every protest that seeks to protect the interests of the ordinary Ghanaian. So the NDC must not only take advantage, the NDC must come and lead the protest. And that is why we, the minority MPs, we are the people here leading the protest.
All right, we're joined this morning by Wilberforce Asare. He's a political editor and he joins us all the way from Accra, Ghana. Good morning, Mr. Asare, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here again. Unfortunately, we're not here to discuss very pleasant circumstances. What's happening? Give us details as to the protest that happened yesterday in Accra, asking for the resignation of the CBN governor. Sorry, the Central Bank of Ghana's governor.
Governor, yes. Okay, so you know that Ghana signed on onto an IMF program a few months ago. Now, prior to that program, there were several arrangements that had to be put in place in terms of the requirements to meet the IMF timelines and all that. Part of it was a debt restructuring, so what we call the domestic debt exchange program. That also meant that the Bank of Ghana had to absorb some cost and some debt if the IMF program was going to make possible. And so indeed, the central bank absorbed a huge deficit or a huge debt and declared it as losses, which then paved the way for Ghana to be able to sign on onto the IMF program. Now, this protest has been instigated by the minority side of things in our parliament. Now, notice that here in Ghana, our parliament is technically speaking a hung parliament, because the minority side has 137, the majority side also has 137, with one independent working with the majority side, and that's what makes them majority. So the minority side instigated this and says that to the extent that Bank of Ghana has declared a loss, irrespective of the fact that it had everything to do with Ghana's ability to sign on onto the IMF program, the minority thinks that the governor of the Bank of Ghana should step aside. And that is what necessitated this demonstration. There are economic challenges, but as we speak now, because of the IMF program, there seems to be some sort of a recovery. The cedi has stabilized and all that. So the country is somewhat on a path of recovery. However, this particular demonstration was instigated by the minority in parliament because they think that the Bank of Ghana governor, which is Governor Addison, should step aside because the bank has had to make losses to pave way for the IMF program to come on board. And that's where we are.
Okay, well, interesting there, but it may have been instigated by the minority in the House, but, it seems like a lot of Ghanaians are, in on it. They are, fully behind it. If the Occupy Julabi House protest was sometime last week or so, only just the dust only just settled on that one, and of course more Ghanaians are out on the street. So tell us, what the mindset is like for the average Ghanaian concerning how the economy is, And if they will be willing to continue this protest until the Central Bank of Ghana governor is replaced or something, something happens.
Well, yes, so indeed, there are economic challenges in Ghana, and it is tried knowledge by now. However, the government says that it is taking steps to repair the damage that has been caused the Ghanaian economy due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and also the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. However, the demonstrators you are seeing on our streets, which is the first one that you talked about, which is the Occupy Jubilee House, and then also now the Occupy Bank of Ghana, are all demonstrations that are orchestrated by the opposition side of things in our country. And so it is important to emphasize that it's not two different sets of people. It's the same set of people who are behind both demonstrations, except that they have two different names. One is occupying the seat of our presidency, and the other is occupying the Bank of Ghana, which is the central bank of our country. And so that's important to make. However, the current administration and its officials openly admit the challenges, but also add up to the fact that they are taking steps to repair the damage that has been caused. However, the opposition, obviously, next year being an election year, is not ready to take a bite for the sitting administration because they also want to win political power and come to office in 2024. And so, irrespective of whatever efforts that are being made, they keep drumming home the fact that there are challenges and they want the challenges to dominate the discourse in the country. The sitting administration is also saying that indeed we admit that there are challenges, but steps are being taken to repair them, and the evidence of it is clear to see. Now, it is actually left for the people of Ghana to decide which route they will take, whether they will disassociate with the current administration in 2024 during the election and bring in the opposition to take up from where the current administration would have left off governance in our country, or whether they will maintain the administration and ask them to continue the repair works that has already been started. Notice that the IMF program is a 3-year program. It started this year, 2023. What it means is that it's going to go up to about 2025, 2026 before the program comes to an end. And so whichever government comes in January 2025 will inherit the IMF program and will have the duty to continue with the implementation of the program towards the repair of the Ghanaian economy. And so that's where we are. And that's the discourse that is going on. I presume that these demonstrations that we are seeing are going to continue right into the election year of 2024. What it is really is that it brings additional cost to the police service who have to provide security, and it brings a lot of pressure on the city called Accra because of the disruption in traffic that it brings and the economic impact that it has. And so there is an advantage and disadvantage to everything. But for now, it looks like because of our laws, the country, the police and other security agencies are enjoined to provide security for everybody who wants to demonstrate, as long as they comply with the Public Order Act, which is the act that actually governs demonstrations in our country. And so that's what I can say on the question that you asked.
That these protests are likely to span into the election year. What will this mean for Ghana? You've given us a brief, you touched very lightly on some of the impacts that the protest has had on the economy and the current traffic gridlock. But if this truly lasts up until the election year, just like you suggested, do you think, I mean, give us a picture of what this will mean for Ghana, for the economy and, generally for the country?
Well, so yes, if these demonstrations continue, they have two sets of impact. The first is the security impact. Now, the security impact, because you and I know that within our sub-region where we live in the West Africa region, it is very volatile. And there are terrorist attacks and all kinds of internally generated attacks happening in our countries In Nigeria, where you are, I know it's happening. In Ivory Coast, it's happening. In Togo, it has happened. On top of us, in Burkina Faso, it is not a good situation at all. And so our security agencies are concerned, because if anybody is going to take advantage to cause mayhem, the person will take advantage with some of these demonstrations. And so our security agencies are worried about the security impact that it could have on our country going into an election year, which is 2024. So that's the security aspect, which they would, the security architecture in our country is trying to avert by meeting and talking to these demonstrators and telling them that their concerns are acknowledged, things are being done about it. But for the sake of the security of all the 31 million people in Ghana, a few protesters, numbering like yesterday's protesters, were numbering in excess of about 2,000 people. And so if 2,000 people can cause the disruption to all of us 31 million, it is a matter of concern to security,
Right.
The security.
It is certainly a matter of concern. We, of course, will be following up with the protest, and we look forward to having you again if they continue as you suggested. And we want to see what will happen in the coming days if the Central Bank of Ghana would actually cave into the demands of the people of Ghana. We look forward to having you join us then.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time with us.